Hi, welcome to At Home with Peggy. I'm Peggy Ballister Howells and we're here at Blooming Acres. It's hard to believe summer's already over and we have to get ready for fall and the holidays are around the corner, but it's time to really enjoy the slowing down in the garden, sort of enjoy the fruits of your labor as the weather cools off. It's not 105 degrees so you can get outside and do some work, but it's also time to appreciate things like this beautiful little ornamental basil. This is an annual plant with the rich dark purple leaves and it self-sows, so it comes up every year in the garden from seed all by itself. You never know quite where it's going to pop out, and those places where you don't want it, of course, you can just yank it. But this rich, beautiful purple color really nicely offsets all the green that you find in the garden late in the year. Remember, there's not too many woody ornamentals that bloom in September and October, so this nice color goes beautifully with the fall color as it sets on for the autumn. Here's another little one that volunteered, and the color goes beautifully with this, which is, believe it or not, a eupatorium commonly known as perennial bachelor buttons. Now, it's not really a bachelor buttons, but it has that same kind of tufty look that the pretty little ageratum known as bachelor buttons in the summertime has. It looks very similar to that. Now, as you can see, the foliage here is opposite. It does come up from seed, and the flowers, which are very pretty, look very, very similar to this next beauty over here. Now this one is called Blue Miss Spirea, and they grow side by side, but you can see here, let me get a nice branch, that the foliage is different. While also both are opposite, you can see that they're on the same side. You have two on opposite sides of the branches. You can see this one's a little bit brighter green. This one has more little side things that are sticking out. This one is a narrower leaf with more silver foliage. And if you look at them right next to each other, you can see that the flowers are different, but are beautiful in shades of kind of a lavender blue that are stunning with the silver foliage at this time of year. Now, next to me on the right over here is another beauty that will last well into the winter. It's an ornamental grass. This is the seed part of the grass, and this will stay well into spring. By then, some of them will have bent over and they will not be as lovely as they are now. But this is not only pretty now, it gives us winter interest. Now let's move up here to the ornamental phlox, which is growing side by side with another one of these Blue Miss Spireas. This is a pretty phlox. You can see it's been blooming for a long time by the old flowers, but still is producing quite a few fresh ones. Still has lovely color, and the kind of rosy pink in the center I think goes very nicely with the lavender blue of the Blue Miss Spirea. And that is next to my final and one of my favorite fall beauties is the Beautyberry. Now this doesn't get much of a flower, but look at those berries. You can see here that they are very, very purple in here where the berries are fairly mature. But look at all the berries we have yet to enjoy. All of these will elongate a little bit more. They will turn this beautiful, rich, kind of winey purple color, and they will stay on there, at least until Christmas and sometimes all the way till spring. This is such a lovely bush. It stays relatively low, kind of spreading and arching. And it's such a pleasure to have it right next to the driveway where I pull in. So every time I get in or out of the car, I get to see these beautiful purple berries. So aptly named, Beautyberry. So we have lots more to see here at Blooming Acres. We're going to meet a mean pig and a sweet old sheep, have some things to do inside, time to overhaul the houseplants since it is time to bring them in for the winter, and lots of other things. So you stay with us. Now this sign is not exactly fair to poor old Amos, who is a Vietnamese potbelly pig who needed a home. He's been with us about 8 years now, so basically one could say he's an old pig. And he is a little bit cranky, so you have to watch your ankles around him. But he's also the smallest animal in the barn, and therefore he gets pushed around by everybody. But Amos, being a pig, definitely is motivated by food. And one of his favorite, believe it or not, are tomatoes. Now these are tomatoes that were picked that are not quite perfect. They're a little soft or a little overripe. And watch Amos go for these tomatoes. Here, Amos. Come on over here, Amos. Now you see next to Amos is Maggie's sheep, who was the first animal that ever came to Blooming Acres. Now, she is a very, very old sheep, but you have to remember, you can teach an old sheep new tricks. The big animals in the barn, the bigger goats and the donkey, push poor Maggie away, and she doesn't get any of the good stuff in the barn. Now, I've already fed those animals, so they're in there. They're happy as a pig in tomatoes. And so they're going to leave us alone. But Maggie has learned to come over here, and she gets a special treat every day. And if I should come out and not give her this special treat, you can hear her from here to kingdom come. She makes so much noise. But she knows this is her special corner, and she will get her special oats every day. Oh, here comes Amos. We better give him some more tomatoes. Over here, Amos. Now, tomatoes are not only popular with Amos the pig, but the chickens love tomatoes. I'm not quite sure why they have such a taste for tomatoes. It's not the kind of food they ordinarily get. But watch this. They seem to really enjoy these. And it's also really nice because this way the food that we can't really eat never goes to waste. So we keep a bowl in the kitchen for extra food scraps, and they get it every single day. And the chickens and the pig and the goats, they really seem to enjoy having the diverse food. Now, of course, they get regular chicken food every day, and they also like these oats. So we'll give them a few oats, too. And we want everybody to be happy, because these are all our friends here at Blooming Acres. We collect the eggs every day. We don't, of course, eat our friends, but the eggs are delicious, and the more diverse the food we give them, the nicer the eggs come out. So, here we are with all the critters, and my favorite, I have to admit, I hope no one else is listening, is this sweet old Maggie sheep. We're going to go inside and take care of some houseplants after that. Time to get them ready for the winter. So you stay with us here at Blooming Acres. As the garden changes outside, we also need to change some of our gardening practices inside. One of the most popular houseplants is the Amaryllis. The spectacular flowers that show up in January, February, or March are so stunning that they are a really dramatic improvement over the winter blahs that have a tendency to set in at that time of year. Unfortunately, what most people miss is in order to get a flower next winter, it's the care they receive this summer that makes all the difference. Now you can see this upright Amaryllis. It did get blown over in the wind, so we have a little bit of damage on it, a couple of the leaves. But even so, we still have 5 upright, sturdy, healthy leaves, and these 3 additional broken ones. The bulb is of good size, the leaves are nice and thick and dark green, and this one was grown all summer out on the back porch. Now, in general, as a rule of thumb, you want 5 healthy leaves to make enough plant food, that is, convert enough sunlight into plant energy to replenish this bulb to make it strong enough to make a flower next year. Grown inside, most of the time, they're just not sturdy enough to bloom dependably. And this little one, you can see the difference. Look, even though there's a fair number of leaves, this bulb has got 3, and this one also has 3. Each bulb does not really have enough leaves on it to make sure we're going to get a flower next year. And they're flopping over because they were stretching for the light, and all too often people's Amaryllis bulbs grown indoors tend to look like this. Even so, we're going to give it a try, and once in a while they will bloom despite the poorer conditions that they were grown under. You can see in the center there are 2 distinct bulbs. The time to separate these is not now, but when you start them up again. They require approximately 60 days of dormancy, that's about 2 months, and then you start them up again. Now, I also want to point out that this poor thing has got mealy bugs on it. You may find this on a wide variety of plants, and once you have them, it's very important to isolate the plant and clean it up. You can really wipe it off, use a little alcohol, or you can resort to some insecticides that are suitable for the houseplant in question. But definitely you want to control this because it will spread to many, many houseplants. And in the wintertime, you have the problem of what are you going to do? You don't want to spray insecticide in the house, and it may be too cold to treat the plants outside. Now, because we're going to force this plant into dormancy, it's an easy way of taking care of the insects. Right now, what we're going to do simply is cut them back. I will not water these again. They will go completely dormant, and then in about 2 to 3 months, I will start them up again, and with a little luck, it's the flower that will come out first. Now, because I'm getting rid of these, that eliminates the problem of the insect, and boy, that's the best way to do it. Now I don't have to really deal with it. This one I'm going to put back on the porch for a little while. It will not tolerate a frost at night, so you want to make sure you bring it in and force it into dormancy probably by late September. If the weather really holds, you might make it to the middle of October. The longer it's outside and the healthier it is, the better your chances of getting a flower. Now what I'm going to do is let this one go dormant for a while. I'll start it up in 2 months. In another few weeks, I'll do the same thing with this one. By staggering the dormant period and staggering when I get them started again, you can also stagger when your flowers will show up, and that'll give you an extended period of bloom next winter. So here we go. This one's going to go to sleep, and this one goes back on the porch. Now stay with us. The rest of the houseplants here at Blooming Acres still need plenty of attention. The houseplants here at Blooming Acres need a little bit of special attention every once in a while. And now, as the days are getting shorter and the amount of light they're receiving is changing, is a really good time to give them an overhaul. You can see that I've removed some of the plants. This was full of plants just a few minutes ago. And you can see over here some of the problems that happen just over time. This little bit of white tuftiness is actually the residue from those same insects, mealybugs. This plant, which dies back at the end of summer and starts up again, is called a sea onion. And this looks very much like seaweed, but if you look closely, you can see that it is entirely covered with mealybugs and had been attached to the screen and now has mealybugs everywhere. If we don't deal with this plant right away, it's sure to die. Now, there are other plants, this large fishtail palm that seem to have suffered a bit, so this is going to need some cleaning up. And I want to prune some of these back, so I'm going to move the rest of these plants out, and then I'm going to take down the screens. A screen in a window can reduce your light by up to as much as 20%. So in the winter, when you don't need the screens to keep the bugs out, you might want to consider taking them down so that you can have that extra light when the plants really need it. So stay with us, and I'm going to clean up this mess. Well, I've cleared out most of the houseplants here. This big one I think I might just leave here for a little bit longer. But the thing that I really want to show you is the difference between having the screens in and taking them out. As I said, it can make a difference of up to about a 20% increase in light. Now you can see, just by looking at the windowsill, the distinct difference in the amount of light here that's coming through the screen and the amount here where there is no screen. Now I'm even going to take the big step and I'm going to clean that window. I know most people don't do windows, but in this case, 1 or 2 windows is probably a good thing. This I'll hose down and I will put in storage for the winter. We'll put it back next spring when the bugs are back. And then my plants, when I put them back, they will be beautiful and they will get the full benefit of whatever winter sun has to offer. Now we're going to do some pruning and nipping and tucking and cleaning up before I put them back. So stay with us for that project. Now this green monster is an aspidistra. Has a common name of cast iron plant, and it is probably tough as nails, so it has an appropriate name. It is one of the most tolerant of lower light conditions, but winter in New Jersey is even pushing its luck, so we want to maximize its potential. So you put it in the window with as much light as possible, as close to the window as possible, and then you want to clean it. Now see, this is what's, they get cleaned about twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And it takes a lot of effort to actually really clean these leaves, but I want to show you the difference. These little things on here have fallen from an asparagus fern, which has a tendency to drop needles. And look at the difference. I'll just clean down this half. See the difference in that leaf? Now, if it's covered with dirt, clearly it's not going to be able to use the sunlight as efficiently as it is clean. Besides that, it just looks so much better. Now, if you do the undersides of the leaves, you may also pick up any tiny bugs that may be getting started there. I do recommend using paper towels for this as opposed to using a damp rag, although a damp rag will do the job. The thing is that if you are cleaning insects off, even ones you may not be aware of, you can throw the rag away when it's a paper towel. But if you're using a cloth rag, you may actually be spreading the bugs from one plant to another. So this needs to be spiffy clean before we put it back, and nice and shiny. It'll be beautiful, it'll look fresh, and those nice clean green leaves will be able to photosynthesize and use that limited winter sun to the best of its ability. Now I'm going to clean this up and put it back, but I want to show you a couple of other things. Ooh, some of them maybe even aren't so pleasant, but we have to get through it to take care of the houseplants. This poor little plant looks so nasty, and yet it's one of the more interesting houseplants that I have. It's called a sea onion. The botanical name is Beautyberry, and it grows with all of this seaweedy looking curlicues. It actually has no leaves, but you can see it's full of mealybugs. Once again, we have the advantage that this plant dies down in the fall and then starts again. And this is actually dying back not because of the mealybugs, because it's its natural time of year to die down. And as a result, I'm going to be able to prune all of this and just get rid of it, so that I don't have to actually spray. Now I will be a little bit careful and remove some of this extra growth. Now these are the sea onions, and you can see why it's called sea onion, because each of these actually looks very much like an onion. Now look at these. These are little baby sea onions, and this is the way you would propagate. So at this time of year when you're cutting it back and it doesn't have a lot of leafy or tenderly growth on it, now would be a good time of year to take out some of these little babies and propagate them and give them to a friend. And you can see it looks very much like an onion, but the top growth looks very much like seaweed, and that's where it gets its name. Now I'm going to yank out all of this yucky stuff and just try to get it cleaned up just to make sure that there's no mealybugs hiding out or hanging out in any of this plant residue. You could also divide it at this time, and I'm going to certainly wash off the pot. I'm going to let it get a little bit drier than usual to give it a little bit of a rest period, and then we will start it up again. You can see this one's just, and this one too, this is a brand new shoot, because once it dies down, it starts over again, and it will get nice and lush and green and ferny, and will attach to just about anything. So it's kind of a fun plant. But it does have a tendency to get mealies. Luckily, we can clean it up without the use of insecticides. This is another strange houseplant, but actually is really kind of spectacular in its own way. It's called a pregnant onion, or ornithogulum is the botanical name. It's related to the Star of Bethlehem. Now, you can see, again, it looks kind of oniony, and if you peel away some of these onion papers, look what's under here. Can you see right close up here as I peel them away? Look at all the little baby onions that are in there. You can see that they are attached to the onion bulb that's above ground. Now this is how the plant propagates itself. And sometimes they fall out of the pot and they fall into other pots, and you may find them popping up all over the place. Now this is really an easy care plant. I know it's very strange looking, but it's a lot of fun because it is so unusual and has such a unique way of asexual propagation, but it also gets some spectacular flowers. Now I'm going to move this one out of the way and finish cleaning it up later and show you this one. As I said, it did in fact send out a little baby into this pot with this really outrageous old man cactus that is probably at least 20 or 25 years old. Now this pregnant onion popped up in here, and look at the flower. Now this flower lasts for months, and it starts out blooming at about 1 foot to 18 inches. And look at how long it continues to put out flowers. Now these are all dead and of course not as pretty as it used to be. But look at the end here. even after all this time, with all this length, it continues to put out a bloom. Now this actually started blooming probably in the spring and keeps on going. And you can see it still has lots of little buds on the end and will continue to put out flowers for a significant amount of time afterwards. Now I could propagate this and take this one out and separate it, but since it's doing so well and seems to enjoy the sunlight that the cactus enjoys, I've decided to just let it be. So it's kind of fun, and it does produce winter flowers unlike a lot of other houseplants. Now there's so much more work that needs to be done. Everything needs to be cleaned. Things need to be pruned. Occasionally, you'll find that you may need to put things in a new pot. I generally like to save that kind of work for the spring, and that way a new growth spurt will come as the days get longer, and it'll make use of all that extra soil after repotting. But you want to clean and prune and tidy things up. Make sure that you don't have any bugs because they will spread rapidly in the winter heat and dry atmosphere of your home. So I'm going to finish cleaning these all up, put them back in the window, and show you what it looks like all ready to go and take on mean old cold winter. The sun is streaming in the now nice clean windows, and the southern exposure is going to mean we're going to have a sunny window pretty much all winter long. I replaced the failing fishtail palm with this beautiful Tibocina. See the pretty purple flowers this one gets? It was on the porch all summer, so it's still covered in buds. With a little luck, we'll get flowers for another month or so before it sort of slows down for the rest of winter. If I can get it through till spring, it'll go back out on the porch next year. All the plants have been cleaned, washed, scrubbed, pruned, rearranged. The pots and saucers are all clean, and everything's cleaned underneath. They look beautiful, fresh, and lush. A perfect way to help us get through winter. Now, another thing that we need to do to get through winter is to do some good, serious winter cooking. So I'm going to head for the kitchen for a little bit of a, shall we say, Halloween treat? With the ending of summer, we have the holiday season to look forward to help get us through the shortening days and then the cold days of winter. The first of which, of course, is Halloween. And what would Halloween be without a pumpkin and a jack-o'-lantern? Then later on, this wonderful pumpkin gets turned into pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. But at the very beginning, it's a nice, round, jolly-looking pumpkin that's just waiting to have a face carved into it. Now, even before we get to that, inside is another secret that most people just don't ignore. And that's the pumpkin seeds. And you can feel, it's a little slimy inside. But inside are all these wonderful pumpkin seeds that are good for you and delicious. Now I'm going to clean out all of this goopy stuff on the inside of the pumpkin and sort through the seeds. And then we're going to toast them in the oven with butter and salt and some spices. And then we're going to enjoy them because they are absolutely delicious. But we'll be right back after I get through this yucky part. We didn't get quite as many seeds as I had hoped for. It won't take us long to gobble these up, but this is certainly a good start, and there's plenty more pumpkins out there. So I'm going to take these and put them into my mother's black frying pan, her cast iron frying pan, that I use for so many different things. And I have some melted butter here, and I'm going to brush that on with my basting brush. Of course, we like lots of butter. Now while I'm doing this, the oven is preheating to 300 degrees, and once we pop this in the oven, one of the important things is to turn them often so that they get evenly toasted and don't get too brown on just any one side or any part. We want them to be crisp and like a nice golden brown, but not overly cooked, of course. Okay, we're going to stir them up a little bit to make sure we get butter on all the sides. Kind of hard to have too much butter on here. Okay, that looks good. And then one of my favorite spices is Jane's Crazy Mixed Up Salt. Used to be made in Medford, New Jersey, but I think they've changed locations recently. But it's a wonderful blend of salt and pepper and onion and other spices that just adds a really nice flavor to everything you use it on. So instead of plain salt, we're going to use Jane's. it should stick nicely because of the butter. We'll flip that around a little bit, spread them out, and one more time just to make sure that we get both sides. And then I will pop them in the oven. We want to get them nice and even, though we don't want them doubled up too much. Okay, and in the oven they go. That usually takes about 10 minutes. Now, while those are baking, I want to show you something with these beautiful garden fresh, just picked plum tomatoes. So we'll be right back. These are Jersey fresh plum tomatoes, vine ripened and just picked this morning. It doesn't get any better than these for things like tomato sauce or a wonderful Italian eggplant and tomato dish called caponata. These are the best. Trying to find tomatoes of this quality in the wintertime is all but impossible. Aren't we lucky that you can just cut them up like this and throw them in a plastic container in the freezer so that you can use them all winter long. It's really great because when they're frozen, they tend to get mushy. But if you're making sauce or something like caponata, it really doesn't matter. So I can just put these in here, throw them in the freezer, and then when I'm ready for a special holiday meal or want to have a taste treat for my family or even just remember the wonderful tastes of summer, I can just take these out and cook with them. Now, if you are short of recipes for what to do with Jersey fresh produce, here is an excellent cookbook that was put together by the New Jersey Department of Agriculture and is available to you at your local farm markets. Now, it's a wonderful cookbook because the recipes are delicious, but the cookbook itself is beautiful. The pages are all very shiny, so it's easy to stay clean, and they were recipes that were submitted by people throughout the state. So it's an excellent cookbook, lots of fun, and wonderful that you can keep it clean. And again, it'll get you to visit your local farm markets where you can pick up some of these plum tomatoes and store them for winter taste treats. Now I'm going to check on those pumpkin seeds in the oven because I think I'm a little hungry and I want to try some of them. Okay, they look like they are just perfect. Nicely browned. A little smoky there, but they look pretty good. Let's scoop them into this wonderful serving dish we have here, and this will be a taste treat. I have a feeling that there will be not one pumpkin seed left after 5 minutes when my kids get home from school. Now, next time we're going to get ready for the holidays, so stay with us for At Home with Peggy. Bye-bye. Inside the pumpkin is a secret that many people just don't